Well, thank you for being here this evening, and we're talking about, is your gut talking to you? Because our gut is going to control a lot of things in our body. Is your gut talking to you? Well,
sometimes it squeals.
Sometimes it squeals. Actually, I read something today about our gut. When it's making noises, it's really our body, it's digesting, it's pushing gases through and fluid, so it doesn't always mean you're hungry. That was a thing that I learned today. So what is our bodies telling us, or what is our gut telling us? Do we need to change our diet? Do we have some autoimmune things? Do we need to take out gluten, be gluten-free? Are we celiac? Are we sensitive to foods? Do we have malabsorption? What is our stools like? What is our brain like? Because our gut is connected to our brain. Well, the gut is so important to the fact that it's linked to so many different functions of our body. So we think about all the different functions we have, but our gut and our brain, there's an interconnection that happens between our brain and our gut. So there's been so much research. I have article after article, autism, ADHD, linked to gut health. It is called our second brain. You know, gut instinct, you've heard that. So you lead by your gut. What is your gut telling you? How many times have you heard that throughout your life? But it's called the enteric nervous system, ENS. It's our second brain, because we have millions of nerve endings in our gut that are talking to us, that have a direct connection to our nervous system into our brain. So mental health, the foods we consume are extremely relevant to our mental health. What we're putting in here is going to affect. And these are all research articles that I've done the last couple of weeks. 50 to 90% of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, patients have psychiatric ailments, anxiety and depression. 50% to 90%. Eating disorders, so all different types of eating disorders, are those coping with overwhelmed feelings and painful emotions. It regulates, this article here, think twice, how the gut's second brain influences our mood and well-being. So there are hundreds of articles out there about this. Then we talk about our immune system, how our gut regulates our immune system. We have trillions of cells in our gut that the good bacteria are there. And that if the good bacteria are, if the bad bacteria outweigh the good, then we're in trouble. But the good bacteria strengthens our gut wall, which protects us from everything we're exposed to every day, what we're breathing, what we're putting into our bodies, the things we've been exposed to. So it fights harmful bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Our gut controls inflammation. People think, okay, arthritis, inflammation of the joint. I deal with that every day, inflammation of the joint. But how inflammation happens here, it's going to affect every place else. So bacteria either activates or suppresses our inflammatory responses. Obviously, digestion and nutritional absorption. We need our gut to absorb the nutrients so we can function. It breaks down our food, essential nutrients, prevents deficiencies, supports all of our functions. So we're going back to elementary school or middle school, where we're going to have a little anatomy lesson here. How does our gut work? How does our gastrointestinal system work? Well, it all starts right here in our mouth, our salivary glands. We smell food, what happens?
Hungry.
We salivate, depending on what we're smelling, and the juices start flowing. So our digestive tract is made up of our mouth. We swallow, our esophagus, our stomach, our small and large intestines, our rectum and anus, along with our liver, pancreas, and gallbladder. All of them are working together to digest our food. The main things that happen, though, where digestion really happens, is the small intestines. So it's called the small intestines, but it's the big, like it's miles and miles long, like so many feet long. So the small intestine, the food mixes with our digestive juices, breaks down the nutrients so our body can absorb those nutrients. Now, fancy word, but this is called our microbiome. It's our environment. It's our gut environment, our microbiome on the small cellular level. So it's our trillions of bacteria, fungi, viruses, protozoa, all of this working together, living in our gut. Like if you would pull all that out of you, you'd have pounds, yeah, it's pretty gross, pounds of these bugs in our gut, but they're good. But they're good for us, they're good for us because they regulate our metabolism. They're protecting us, they're boosting our immune system. They're getting our brain to connect, the second brain, it's communicating with our whole body. Then our large intestines come from here across down here. That is where the water is being absorbed out, pulled out of the system to make our stool. So it's our waste product. It's the undigested fluid and older cells that have built up in our body, and the fluid gets pulled out, and then the stool comes around, and then out our rectum for elimination. All of that I learned in one semester was 3 minutes. Not quite. So, what we're feeding our microbiome is very important. So let's talk about what makes up our microbiome, our gut flora. What are those trillions of bacteria, viruses, cells in our gut? So most of the bacteria in our gut are friendly. Others are not. When the harmful outweigh the good, then it's called dysbiosis. Imbalance is occurring in our gut when the bad outweigh the good. But most, now this is getting very technical, fall under one of 4 groups. Firmicutes, bacteroidetes, yeah, actinobacteria, I had to practice all these, and proteobacteria, all fancy words. These are the types we are looking at. So I'm going to give you a little preview. I do stool tests on patients. I've done a stool test on myself. These show up in the reports. We're looking at, is there enough? Is there too much or not enough? Because again, it's all about balance. We can have too much, we can have too little, and that's all going to affect how our body absorbs those nutrients. So each group requires different nutrients for growth, and if those nutrients aren't there, if we're not putting them into our body, then we become deficient and things don't function correctly. So I'm going to get into this in a little bit, but I mean article after article about our foods that we eat. Let's see if it's here. Okay, yes. So we want to address the dysbiosis, the imbalance that's happening in there. Dysbiosis, overgrowth of one or more unfavorable microbes, yeast or other organisms, or the lack of sufficient friendly bacteria or flora in our gut to sustain our life and to stay in our gut. So the first thing is not eating a diverse range of foods. If you eat the same foods every day, shame on you. Shame on you. You can't eat the same foods every day. Your body becomes sensitive to those foods. So years ago they talked about eat oatmeal every morning, it's going to help with your cholesterol. But guess what? What does oatmeal do? What's oatmeal?
Fiber.
It's fiber.
It's grain.
It's a carb.
Yeah, it's carbs.
What does it do to your blood sugar?
Spikes it.
It spikes your blood sugar, and then you're in this roller coaster. But eat it every day, or eat Cheerios every day. They don't tell you that Cheerios have glycosides, or Monsanto, They spray that with Monsanto.
Ugh.
And we're giving it to our children. Oh, yes. Yeah.
I can't eat that anymore. I ate it all my life and I can't eat it anymore.
Exactly. You can't eat
Cheerios.
the same foods every day. You have to have diverse palate. You have to be eating different things every day. So we want our fruits, we want our vegetables, we want our whole grains, we want our nuts, we want to feed our gut with the good things. So processed and ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed was a new word for me. We know what processed foods are. Things that are in a box, right? Things that come in a box are processed foods. They're not live foods, they don't come from the earth. They're gonna be a problem. There's gonna be many chemicals in there. Ultra-processed foods are ingredients that are not found in nature, that they're man-made. So I have to say, I don't eat red meat. I don't eat red meat. I don't like red meat. My body doesn't like red meat. And I found this out when I was pregnant with my youngest son. So, gosh, 24 years ago. 24 years ago, I found that out that my body did not like red meat. So they now have all these fake meats, right? But they're not natural. They're man-made. They're made of soy, genetically modified, with chemicals on it. The Impossible Burger. Everyone kept talking about the Impossible Burger. Have the Impossible Burger. You're not eating meat. And that's actually where our world is going because, then we don't have the gases that are happening by killing the cows and all of that, the greenhouse gases. Well, Impossible Burgers are ultra-processed foods. They're ultra-processed. And they're slowly killing us. Like, that's what it's doing. We're becoming, not petrified.
Ossified.
When you preserve, we're becoming preserved.
Yeah.
We're putting into a jar. And with all these processed foods and ultra-processed, we're becoming a preservative. We're becoming that stuff.
Pickled.
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 That's it. Thank you. Pickled. We're becoming pickled, preserved. So all of these things have high omega-6s. So we have omega-3s and omega-6s. Those are our fatty acids. We want omega-3s. Omega-6s cause inflammation. So what are omega-6s? They're our nut oils. They're our soy oil. They're our grapeseed oil. They are our peanut oil. They are canola. That's a nut. I mean, that's processed oils. Those are omega-6s. They cause inflammation. Eating the same foods every day creates sensitivity, celiac disease. So that's allergic to wheat, and I'll go into that in a second. Leaky gut, I'm going to go into that. We lack prebiotics and probiotics in our diet. We're not eating fermented foods. Kimchi. My son went to Korea during COVID. He was there for 5 months and fell in love with kimchi. They make it very spicy there. But he came home and couldn't find good kimchi. So he found a brand, and I'm like, oh, kimchi. So I heated it up. No, you don't heat up kimchi, you eat it cold. And I'm like, you eat this stuff cold? It's slimy. Yep, that is a prebiotic.
What is that, a vegetable or?
It's cabbage, but it's the way it's fermented.
Oh, okay.
It's the way it's fermented. So prebiotics are fibers that pass through the body undigested and promote the activity of friendly bacteria. It promotes that. So we're talking lentils, chickpeas, beans and nuts, bananas. But again, don't eat them every day. Don't eat the same foods every day. Garlic, leeks, and onions are awesome for our immune system. They're awesome for our bodies. Asparagus, artichokes. Yes, your pea's gonna smell. It's gonna smell. So probiotic foods are types of foods or supplements that have beneficial bacteria. Sauerkraut, kimchi, raw dairy, kefir. You can try kefir. I did not like it. Low sugar kombucha, and that is mushrooms that are, I see some faces, mushrooms that are fermented, probiotic yogurts, and supplements. We'll get into that. So then the prebiotic foods, they're the ones that feed the friendly bacteria. So flax, hemp, chia seeds, bananas, peas and beans, berries, asparagus, garlic. Then our overuse of antibiotics and our sugar use. So antibiotics, you get, I'm not gonna say it because you can't, if you have a virus, you don't use an antibiotic. They don't die with an antibiotic. If you have a bacteria, they've done a culture and said, this is a bacteria, and you have green snot coming out your nose, most likely it's bacteria related. They put you on an antibiotic. But you've got to finish that antibiotic. You don't take it until that goes away. But what does an antibiotic do?
Kills all the.
It kills all the good stuff as well as the bad stuff. So over your lifetime, how many antibiotics have you been on? We've all done it. Well, I haven't in many, many years because I know how bad it is. But the antibiotic promotes yeast. What happens when you take an antibiotic as a female? You sometimes get a yeast infection because it promotes yeast. Well, what feeds yeast when you're baking?
Sugar.
Ding, 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 ding. And we're addicted to it. We're addicted to sugar. And so it's getting it out of our system. And sugar in itself isn't bad. It's the overabundance of it and the form of it. So white sugar, anything white, is processed to the fact that it's going to, what do we talk about, blood sugar? It's going to increase that blood sugar. It's going to cause weight gain. And then you're going to crash and then your energy level is down. So you're in this yo-yo, you're in this up and down all the time. So the overutilization of the antibiotics creates the imbalance in our gut. And then we're feeding it with sugar. So with that, and I'll be honest, I've had a heck of a year. It's been a heck of a year for me. Since Christmas Eve to May 13th, it's been a heck of a year. And I'm looking for comfort. I'm looking for comfort. Sugar gives me that. A piece of chocolate gives me that. Because I'm looking for that. So we all have our downfalls. We all have that. And I'm not immune to it. I'm not immune to it. So I have to watch my sugar intake. How much am I eating of it? And then our exposure to toxins in our environment. The air we're breathing, the bed we're sleeping in, we're exposed to toxins every day. And you don't realize, like, okay, completely organic, go completely organic. The pesticides are still in the air and it's blowing around and it's still getting on that organic food that's growing. It's still getting there. So we're exposed to it. It's how are we eliminating it? How are we getting it out of our bodies? So symptoms associated with dysbiosis. You just feel sick, right? I mean, you just feel bleh. Tiredness, fatigue. Because of the nutritional deficiencies, they leave you feeling tired and sluggish. Obviously, digestive issues. You've got constipation, you have diarrhea, you have IBS, you have both in one day. I mean, it's crazy. Nausea, gas, cramps, bloating, acid reflux, overgrowth of candida. That was one of my other articles. Why you should never take antacids, Prilosec, Prevacid, Tums, for acid reflux. People think you're overproducing acid when you have acid reflux. And then you take an antacid, so you're lowering it. You actually don't have enough acid in your gut. and then you're really depleting it, so then you can't break down any of those foods. Genital tract infections, so yeast overgrowth, skin and nail, and I didn't even put hair issues, but anytime I see a patient that comes in, I have eczema, I have this skin thing, I'm looking here. I know it's coming from here. It's not coming from out, unless you get stung by a bee, you get bit by a bug, but it's coming from here. Skin's our biggest organ. It's trying to get out. I think of aliens, it's trying to get out, so it shows up in your skin. So itching, rashes, eczema, fungal infections. Lady, I thought she was gonna be here tonight. I just have to tell you this story. Chiropractic patient, was doing wonderful, difficult losing weight, and so talked to her about food sensitivity testing. Went over, she got the testing, and her yeast was huge on the scale of 0 to 4. It was on the high end. I'm like, you have yeast overgrowth. We've got to get rid of this yeast. It's been there a long time when you look at how high those numbers are. And so she told me, she said, we started the process of her cleansing. And she told me, she goes, I have for the last 7 years have a chronic yeast infection. 7 years.
Wow.
She goes to the doctor. She's been on antibiotics, feeding it. Every cream, one cream she uses that works, but it's a steroid cream. Can you imagine? Burns like heck, that the steroid cream, if she doesn't use it every day, she cannot tolerate the itching down there. Cannot. 7 years. So she didn't tell me this in the beginning. So we're cleansing. She's a month into it. She's 2 months into it. Well, she's probably about 6 weeks into it. And she goes, I have to tell you, I didn't use the cream for 3 days. I could go 3 days without it. Now, we're 3-4 months into, now we're in the healing process of her gut. And so she doesn't use the cream at all.
Wow.
We cleared up a yeast infection that she had for 7 years, and every doctor she went to just kept giving her another cream.
Is that by her diet?
Well, it was her diet. Yeah, we had to get rid of the yeast. Her sugar was off the chart. She had to get rid of what was feeding it.
Wow.
It was sugar. It was mushrooms. Mushrooms feed yeast. So sinus infections. So this was interesting. I'm like, so what's a chronic sinus infection? Any sinus thing that lasts more than a month. That's a chronic sinus issue. Anything that lasts more than a month is a chronic sinus issue. It's like, oh, I was thinking years. No, 1 month. So long-term chronic sinus issues are believed to be fungal. Fungus here. It's a fungus among us, right?
That was my dad saying.
Then joint pain. Inflammation within the joint. Candida overgrowth, which will affect our joints. Common areas are our hips, knees, shoulders. And then you just feel like crap, right? You just feel like, I don't want to get up today. I'm done. You do anything and then you're back down again. It's like, come on, what am I've got to do something different. So let's talk about leaky gut. I love this diagram. What is leaky gut syndrome? What is it? So the technical name is intestinal hyperpermeability. What it means, so I want you to look down here. In our small intestine, large intestine, we have cells that line up our whole intestines. So it's like this, and they're close together. They're tightly knit together, and there's cilia, and you remember this from, again, high school. There's cilia, and that's what's pushing the food along as it's going through your gut, and then your body starts breaking it down and absorbing it. Well, leaky gut is when these tight junctions start opening. Why do they open? Well, they're opening because there's foods in our body or foods that our body doesn't like. So say you're eating the same foods every day. And it's irritating the cilia, and it's it's causing inflammation in those cells, and they start to open. And then those food particles start passing through and getting into the bloodstream. Not the nutrients, the food particles. So when those food particles get into our bloodstream, our body sees that as not normal. It's not, our food particles shouldn't be in our blood. The nutrients, but not the food particles themselves. And then it attacks it. So that's autoimmune. It starts attacking what's in the gut or in the blood. And what does that do? Inflammation, inflammation, inflammation. So celiac is when wheat, celiac, the gluten, which is the protein of wheat, any white wheat, rye, all of that, any bread, it attacks that, the body attacks that. So that particle got through into the bloodstream and the body attacked it. And so it's autoimmune. So it's this whole cycle. Intestinal inflammation, where do we start? Yeah, I mean, you could start anywhere. So our body can't absorb the nutrients because of malabsorption. Then the body creates that immune response. The GI issues, multiple food intolerances. So it's not just wheat, it's dairy, it's bananas, it's all different types of food causes the autoimmune response or autoimmune disease, and then it causes the whole cycle all over again. Inflammation, the gut lining keeps opening, opening, opening. So it's allowing the undigested food particles as well as toxins and germs to sneak into your bloodstream. Disrupts our harmony within our gut, within our whole body. Celiac, chronic autoimmune disorder where body reacts to gluten, 34% higher risk of developing atrial fib. I got to tell you about this.
Wow.
This article is amazing, amazing. That's the new buzzword, atrial fib. Every patient, they're always checking for atrial fib. Your heart beat's not beating the way it should. It's not beating the way it should. This article talks about those that have inflammation in their gut. Individuals celiac have a 34% higher risk of developing atrial fibrillation compared to the general public.
Could you repeat that again?
So, people with celiac,
Right.
gluten intolerance, have a 34% higher risk of developing atrial fibrillation compared to the general public. So I think about, so many patients are diagnosed with atrial fib. Heartbeat's out of rhythm. It's out of rhythm. They shock it. They did all this stuff. They keep redoing that. Or they go in and they do the pedals, or they do an ablation where they're burning off part of the heart. Where is there good burning off a part of your heart? There's no good. Because they want to kill the area that's wrong.
The short circuit.
The short circuit. But it could be coming from here, affecting the transmission to the heart. This article is incredible, incredible.
So if you have solid particles,
In your blood.
would that be clumping and making the atrial fib?
I don't know. Not a heart doctor, but they don't know that either. They're not putting this together. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So inflammation, and then what did we say? Our gut's our second brain. So the gut's going to affect the way we think. It's going to affect memory issues, emotional issues. So my son, when he was little, my oldest son, we felt like we did everything right. Like I breastfed for 2 years, didn't introduce foods until about 9, 10 months old. It was my parents that introduced the first foods. Yay, thank you parents. Grandparents, right? I'm not doing that. He had a difficult time learning. We'd go over numbers. Next day we'd have to go over those numbers again. He just couldn't memorize things. He couldn't remember things. So we had him in pre-K, we had My mother-in-law is a teacher, so she was teaching him. And she got to the point where she said, he's not learning. And he was so frustrated. So he's like 5, 6, 7 years old and not learning, and he was getting behind. And I mean, adjusted, we're doing everything right. Well, we thought we were doing everything right. And he always had a clear runny nose, always clear runny nose. I'm thinking, why? Well, we met a doctor, microbiologist. I had heard about this lady in Salisbury. She's no longer there. They've shut her down, unfortunately. And met with her, and she said, oh, he has a wheat allergy. And I'm like, a what? Like, I had never heard of that. This was new to me. He was, like I said, 5, 6 years old. So they did his blood work, and sure enough, he had, not celiac, but he had a food sensitivity to wheat. Looking at the antibodies, they were off the chart for him. Well, what did we do? Well, we gave him a bagel for breakfast with peanut butter, organic peanut butter. For lunch, we gave him a sandwich. For dinner, we didn't do a whole lot of pasta, but there was always wheat involved. So we were killing my son, and it was his gut. We were killing his gut, so his body couldn't absorb the nutrients, and it affected his brain, and it affected his learning. He got to the point where it was like he had amnesia. He couldn't remember things about us as a family. That's how scary it got. Wow. And so once we got, and he was very angry because he was frustrated. He was this 5, 6, 7-year-old angry child because he wasn't learning and he didn't know why. And so we got rid of the wheat. Now this was, I mean, he's 26 years old. This was 20 years ago. No gluten-free choices back then. So his sandwiches were rice cakes and no flavor. There's plain rice cakes, and we'd put his sandwich on rice cake. That was our options. But once we got rid of the wheat out of his system, the eyes brightened up, the runny nose went away, and his brain started working. And we saw it. So he was gluten-free until he went to college, and then he made his own choices. So he knows what point he can be, of how much he can have, where his body starts feeling that. But his body had a sensitivity to wheat. It affected his brain. It was like he had amnesia.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
So how do we nurture this? What do we do to nurture all this? Well, how do we fix it? As best as you can. You want to eat organically. You want to have a wide variety of foods organically. Whole, unprocessed. Now's a great time because the farmers markets, get out there, buy all the strange looking vegetables and fruits, buy it. Try it. Try it. And maybe you'll like it. So we gotta exclude the sugar, the sweeteners of any kind. So really, honey, white potatoes, refined carbs, baked goods, white pasta. Yes, even gluten-free pasta.
Thank you.
Even gluten-free pasta is not good. It's a treat for us if we do that, because we don't do gluten in our house. But there's gluten-free bakeries, and it's, again, I'm looking for comfort, so I get my little cakes and gluten-free. It's still not good. You want to see what foods are affecting you. You don't know what foods are affecting you. So then we do a gut cleansing and a healing. The nutrients we require. We need B vitamins, B12 especially, but all B vitamins. We need vitamin C, we need selenium, we need vitamin D with K, we need zinc and magnesium. So the two most lowest, not most lowest, that's not the right word. The two highest deficiency vitamins that are in the United States. What's number one?
D.
D. Number one, the most efficient. Number two, magnesium. We don't get magnesium. We don't get enough magnesium. We need that for our heart. We need that for our blood vessels. We need that to poop. Helps us poop.
Oh, yeah.
We need magnesium. So products, and I'm going to go into this a little bit more, but prebiotic and probiotics. So eating those fermented foods. Oh, that came out really blurry. Avoid the dirty dozen. What are the dirty dozen? We had this earlier this year in our rooms. It's those fruits and vegetables you have to eat organically because the pesticides, the U.S. government has said, don't eat these foods unless it's organic. Number one is strawberries. On the list every year, you have to have organic strawberries. The pesticides are so high on strawberries. Spinach, kale, need to be organic. Apples, grapes, always on the list. We do organic apples. Peaches, very high. Peaches. I mean, there's a peach festival in Berlin. It's probably not organic. Pears, nectarines, apples, bell and hot peppers. Peppers, red, green, yellow peppers need to be organic. Cherries, blueberries, and green beans. That's your dirty dozen. Those are the foods you need to, and you could just type in dirty dozen and it will show you the foods you need to eat organically because the pesticides are so high. Pesticides are neurotoxins. They're affecting our nervous system. And this is what we're giving our children. Yeah, we're giving our children, besides us. How do you fix your gut? We talked about this last time. Sleep. Get restful sleep. There's ways to do that. We want to align our sleep patterns to the sunlight. So in the winter, yes, you go to bed at 6 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I don't know. No, not quite, but natural light cycle. Our lifestyles, managing stress. So I'm going to make a plug because I have a podcast. And I recorded my next podcast today, and it was all about stress. And we always think of stress as bad, right? We think stress is a bad thing. But there are good stresses. There are good stresses in our life. And we all have stresses. It's how are we managing it? What are we doing to manage our stress? What are you doing for self-care? For me, it's getting to the beach. It's getting and hearing the ocean and smelling the ocean. I love being around water. I have a pond in the backyard, and it trickles, and I just love hearing that trickle, the flowing water for me. So managing our stress. We want to stay active. But that's a catch-22, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in pain, or not sleeping, or having it, then you don't have the energy to be active. So it's that catch-22. Obviously, chiropractic adjustments. We want to keep the communication between your brain, your spinal cord, your body flowing. That's the only way is through chiropractic adjustments. Alcohol moderation. Again, what does alcohol do? It increases our blood sugars, and even red wine. Well, if it's not organic red wine, because it's organic grapes, right? And we really want to limit our pharmaceutical and over-counter drugs. Overuse of medications are going to kill our gut. It's just going to stop it, stop the communication happening. It's going to kill that flora. Plain supportive products for your gut. You need to be on a good quality probiotic. Everybody needs to be on a probiotic. Doctors will say, oh, you only take it for a short bit. Every day. Every day you want to build this up. We're going to promote doTERRA's PB Restore. What I love about PB Restore is it has a pre, it has a pro, and a post. What's a postbiotic? Well, that helps flush out the bad. That's the postbiotic. So the Vitalio Pro V Plus as well, high quality probiotic, not a prebiotic, but a probiotic. If you're having digestive issues, I didn't bring any of my oils, but Digest Zen. So the occasional upset stomach, and you're like, oh, I ate something I shouldn't have. Granted, you want to get it out of your system, but using the oils or the digestives, the capsules or the tablets, that's going to help bring about healing because the oils in it work synergistically with our cells. Our body can absorb that. and it starts healing at the cellular level. Digestive enzymes. We got to break down our foods. We have to be able to get our foods broken down so our body can absorb those nutrients, and that's digestive enzymes. A daily detox pack. I do this every day. I've done this every day for, 4 or 5 years now. Daily detox, because we're always exposed. Now, at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, I do a cleanse, like I am purging all the yuck. And we have different, you can do it happily, or you can do it violently. Do you want to get it over with and do it violently, or do you want to be happy doing it? But we're exposed every day. There are, it's called forever chemicals. We're nice and we give you plastic water bottles, right? That's forever chemicals. If you leave that water bottle in your car, that will leach into your water, and you've drank that, and you'll never get rid of those plastics out of your body. Yep.
Your gut will never rust.
It'll never rust. Again, you become pickled.
Tracy, the PB Restore, is that taking the place of the PB Assist, the other one?
It is. It's
Do we
better.
have it now? Because I know at one point you said we didn't.
I should. Yes, I know I've ordered. Yes.
So we should discontinue that one and.
Correct. I can still get that one, but I'm not buying that one. I'm not, yeah, you can still get it.
This is better.
This is better.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, so many more species, so many more colonies, yeah, so much more in this one, yeah. So they're phasing out the other one, yeah. So truth, kindle light for truth. Think about that. We're looking for the truth. What's going on in our bodies? Well, we talk about testing. We want to know what's happening here. What are we putting in our bodies that our bodies don't like? I do this once a year. I do a food sensitivity test. Wheat is a no-no for me. Dairy is a no-no. My body cannot process dairy, just cannot. Where do I get my proteins? Because I don't eat meat. Fish, chicken, turkey. Gets really boring. So I do cheese because I'm trying to get protein. I started doing fake cheese, and then I read it. And I'm like, why am I putting all these, this is fake cheese. It's fake. It may taste like cheese, but it's chemicals, man-made chemicals. So I make the mistakes too. I do. Peaches are off the chart for me. Don't like peaches. Beets, off the chart for me. Now, I don't like the taste of beets. Beets, to me, they taste like dirt. I'm sorry, they taste like dirt. So I do this to see where my numbers are. So this will help you know if you have a leaky gut. It's going to tell you if, it's going to grade it on a scale of 0 to 5. So it's a 6-page report, and it's looking over 240 food items, as well as inhalants, what we're breathing in, so trees and grasses and molds, and candida. So it's looking at our candida numbers, like I said with that lady. And so it's looking at what we should be eliminating, getting it out of our diet. Some foods you can eat, you just can't eat every day. And that's what I told you, don't eat the same foods every day.
Is this blood work or is
This is a blood work. This
Okay,
is a
strictly
specific,
blood work?
this is a finger stick, it's a blood work. And it's looking at the antibodies. So when those foods pass through, those food particles get into the blood, the body attacks it. Well, with any attacking, there's going to be antibodies that show up. Well, those antibodies are going to show up in the testing. And it's not like, I ate this food today, I feel bad today. It's a delayed response. I eat this food today, and 2 days later I feel like crap. Well, it's because of the food you ate 2 days ago. Now, the son that I told you about, the wheat issue, he's anaphylactic to shellfish. So he can't do any type of shellfish. That's anaphylactic. You eat that, blow up instantly. This is not looking at that. This is looking at a delayed response. So we go over the report, and then we come up with your gut cleansing, depending on how bad it is, depending how long that cleansing is. Some people, I had to do a whole year with one lady, a whole year of cleansing. Then we moved into her gut healing, because that's how bad her leaky gut, like she couldn't eat eggs. I mean, she couldn't eat much of anything.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was tough for her, but she is doing amazing. Oh my gosh, she's doing amazing.
If that leaky gut is left undone, like, what is the outcome of that?
All that.
All that, okay.
All that. Yeah.
So you can't die from it, it's just that you feel crappy.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I mean, but your body's attacking itself.
Right.
And who knows? Do you have a shorter lifespan because your body's attacking itself?
And isn't that what autoimmune issues are?
That's
Your body's
exactly-
attacking itself.
You got it. The other test, and I think this is one of the best tests that Vitalio has, is a comprehensive stool test. It is looking at so many things. So it's looking at the good bacteria that are in your gut, and how much do you have of it? Do you have enough of it? It's looking at what bad bacteria you have in your gut. All the worms and protozoa and stuff you've been exposed to. I want you to see Staphylococcus aureus, Streptococcus. You've heard those, right?
I
Strep.
have it.
Strep. That's the stuff you get in your throat, and your throat gets sore, and you get the little bumps, and you don't feel good, you have a fever. Well, every person I have done a stool test, and I probably have done about 20 different stool tests, everyone has one or both of those in their system, in their gut.
I did.
I have it too. And you think, yeah, but you don't have symptoms. No, but it never got out of here. It's sitting in there, causing havoc. I was flabbergasted by that. I found on a gentleman, he had blood in his stool. He had colon cancer.
Well,
He had colon cancer. That test showed me that. Now, I didn't tell me he had colon cancer. It told me that he had blood in his stool, and I said, you need to see a gastro or GI doctor. And so then he had colon cancer. I think this is the best test, because it also then tells you, there's a chemical in our body called zonulin. It's what keeps our gap junctions together. And if the zonulin is very high, that means the gap between there is very large, and those food particles are getting through. That'll tell you if you have leaky gut. So it doesn't tell you the food you need to avoid. It just tells you you have these things. But then we start cleansing this. We start going through and looking at what we need to kill first, and then heal. Gut issues take a long time to heal. I mean, it's at a year. I mean, how long have you been doing it?
About 4 months, 4 or 5 months.
Right, and the skin is
Better,
changing.
but not where you want it.
Exactly. Not there yet, because we're exposed. So when you think of stool, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to take a stool. It's not as bad as it sounds. It really isn't bad as it sounds. Yep, you're pooping into a little tray, and you have a little, you ship it off. I give you all the information. Yes, it's not as bad as it seems. Not as bad as it seems. And this is discounted. And then we come up with a report and give you the whole report, go through, because you look at this and go, it's foreign to me. I don't know what this is saying. I dumb it down. I make it so it's explainable, right? I explain it all. I do have one of the top naturopaths in the world, is on retainer with Vitalio. And when I get a stool test, I send it to him and I say, help me, what do I do here? What does this look like?
who do you send it to, did you say?
His name is Dr. Chris Miletus.
Oh, okay.
He is in Oregon,
Okay.
and he's world known. He helped me with my presentation. He gave me some slides for my presentation. So, the youngest I've done a stool test on is a 13-year-old. 13 years old. So this young lady came into our office. She had chronic Lyme's. Knew she had Lyme's at the age of 5. They put her on antibiotics, 28 days, said, you're good, go live your life. She comes into my office and she's 13 years old. And she sat there and she made me cry. She made me cry because she hated the way she felt. She felt horrible. She hurt all the time. I was her 4th chiropractor she had been to. 13 years old. Her mother was trying to find answers everywhere. Went to the dentist and saw us and saw functional medicine and came in here. And she said, I don't want to pass this on to my children. 13 years old.
Wow.
And said she didn't want to pass the way she felt on to her children. I mean, she's beyond her years. So I said, okay, this is what we have to do. Chiropractic #1. But we've got to look at your gut. I said, you still have Lyme's. I have no doubt you still have Lyme's. No doubt. We did the poop test. A 13-year-old taking a poop test. Holy mackerel, the things we saw on that poop test. I mean, these were off the chart. Her yeast, this looks at yeast, off the chart. So I didn't even have to do a food sensitivity test with her because her yeast was off the chart on her poop, in her poop. And she didn't have certain good bacteria. So we had to dump that into her system. She's 14 now, and oh my gosh, this young lady is, I mean, we've given her another one. They've just shipped it out. I can't wait to see it. It's been a year. I can't wait to see it. And it's beautiful. I mean, she's amazing. I talked about her on my podcast. I've given her a life now. I've given her a life, this 13-year-old. So, now 14. So, it's a very powerful test. Very powerful test.
Did that clear the Lyme's out?
We're going to find out.
Oh,
She
okay.
just sent it in a week ago. Yeah, we're going to see. We're going to see.
I didn't think you could get rid of that once you had it.
You are correct. It's, what is our viral load? So the
Oh.
question was Lyme's. Do you ever get rid of Lyme's? No, you don't get rid of Lyme's. It stays dormant in your system. But is your viral load high or low? Stress can bring it up. Things we do can bring it up. If we're exposed, if we get bit, it's going to be up. But how is it being managed? I have chronic Lyme's. I have chronic Lyme's that manifests itself with mold. So I can't be around any mold.
You have Lyme's?
I do, chronic.
Oh, wow.
I've had it, I mean, gosh, South Carolina, chiropractic school. So we're talking 26 years.
Wow.
26, yeah. I mean, gosh, was my son born? Yeah. So probably, yeah, about 26 years I've had Lyme's. And so what's my viral load? I take a boatload of supplements. I take a boatload to keep me going. Now, with my mom passing, with the whole, everything that has happened the last 6 months, my body's been drained. I mean, I'm emotionally, physically drained. But I just keep going because where's my passion? My passion is you guys. My passion is changing the healthcare of this community. That's my passion. That's why I do this. That's why I've done the podcast. That's why I do these videos. Because the message has to get out there. There's a different way. That way is not it. 1 drug, 2 drugs, 3 drugs, 4 drugs. I love it when patients aren't on any medications. I have patients that aren't on any medications. They're in their 80s. They're not on anything.
Wow.
Because they've done things right. They're proactive with their health. They're not allowing them dictate their health. They've taken responsibility. And that's what we want to be. We want to be that gap to help you navigate this because not many people are doing it. And hopefully we've given you answers. You know that I'm here. You know that I love you guys and that we're here to help heal you from the inside out.